Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I'm your host, Chantele Francis, here to talk about the Challenge Global Championship, Episode 5, with my ride or die, Drew. How are you doing today, Drew?
I'm doing pretty well on this Friday afternoon, ready to talk about the challenge. And hopefully we can get all of our ideas out there and we're not left on a cliffhanger or leave everybody off on a cliffhanger of what we thought about this episode.
Listen, I'm just so annoyed by it. I thought that this was a really good episode. I thought it was fun. Yeah. I thought that we were seeing strategy. We're seeing people trying to do something, make things happen. I love the daily. It would just have been a perfect episode if I just had an elimination. Please?
Exactly how I feel. This was a good episode. But if it could cross the line to a great episode, if we would have gotten every single thing that we expect from an episode of the challenge. So,
and it scares me. We talked about it on Wednesday after the episode about it. Okay, the two reasons why I believe that they most likely had a non-elimination here is either because Wes leaves the game and they want Wes in another episode, or Darrell and Kiki make an unfavorable decision and it's just like a womp womp. So those are the two options, and I'm like, both of them suck. Unless there's something else that I'm not thinking of that could be a possibility.
It would be so disappointing if we wait a week just to see Darrell and Kiki do the safe route of throwing in Kellyanne and Tristan or Jody and Benha. That would be pretty upsetting if we waited a week for that decision. So I'm hoping that the decision is going to be at least somewhat spicy enough to where it warrants a week in between, but you never know.
What do you think the decision is? What do you think that Darrell and Kiki are going to do? Because we see in this episode, we see Kiki talking about wanting to go after Australia because she doesn't feel like they're as a tight-knit group as they're making it out to be. That would actually also be a slight stab at the USA team who is working with Australia. So potentially it could be time for her to strike at maybe Emily and Yes. And also, but for Darrell, I know Darrell is somebody that doesn't usually like to rock the boat. So what do you think are the possibilities of who they may throw in if it's not Kellyanne and Benha to stay safe?
Well, that's where my brain is going towards, because they kind of laid it out pretty perfectly in the confessionals. I don't know who said it. Maybe it was Troy and Amber, but they were talking about how it's actually good to win because one, you're safe. And at the end of the day, the house makes the decision on the two people that are put up for elimination. So there's really no wrong because your hands are tied in who you get to choose to go in. It's either A or B.
Right.
So it's really, really difficult because I think now that Darrell and Kiki have everybody basically on the table besides themselves and Wes and Zara, that I think that with this whole decision being in their lap, I think mainly my thought process of how Darrell has been playing the game more recently in his recent seasons, that he will go with the easy, safe route of maybe Kellyanne and Tristan, maybe Benha and Jody, if not them. I don't think that they go for Australia this time around because they have to go out of their way to say a team Australia's name, and that's burning a bridge that you really can't come back from.
Right.
If the US competitors, aka the MTV Legends plus Ben, would have gotten their way and it would have been Johnny, Grant, Emily, and Yes as the two options, I mean, they can't really do anything about that. But because they have everybody at their disposal, it would be so bad to say Emily and Yes or Johnny and Grant, even though neither side can trust each other. I personally think that they should throw in Jordan and Kaz. I mean, this is the only way to ensure at least one of Wes and Jordan gets eliminated at this point early in the game, as well as you never know. I mean, Jordan is a really strong competitor, but just sending him into elimination, there's a possibility that something is not in his wheelhouse.
He
I know
might not
that's
have been
hard to
good at
say.
last week's one because, only having one hand and pulling himself up the rope would have been very
Yeah.
difficult. And not to say that, like, I want him to do any eliminations that he physically is not going to be able to do, but he's been in that situation before. Like, there have
Yeah.
been, eliminations that he wasn't innately amazing at just because of just logistically. So how are you going to feel about Darrell if he does make a weak move?
I mean, it's to me, I'm not going to be surprised because of how he's played. He's shown that he kind of just wants to kind of ride the fence. He knows he's a strong competitor. If he can make it far, maybe he can make a run into the finals. So he doesn't really want to step on too many people's toes. So at this point, I think it's par for the course for Darrell. I mean, I'm going to be more shocked if he actually takes a swing for the fence and maybe even puts in Jordan and Kaz. But I think that's a slim chance, even though they were tied in votes between Emily and Yes, and possibly being one of the two nominees to go in. So I don't know. Well, let's just see. I wish we got more conversations because we didn't get an elimination. I wish we got more conversations post the vote to kind of get an idea of how filled in were Darrell and Kiki.
Right.
To everything else besides Troy kind of spilling the beans that Emily was kind of two-timing her at the first elimination.
I mean, that's good information. I think that was just to bring in some tension to being like, oh, are they going to put in a Team Australia? But I do agree with you that it's a more unlikely decision. I do think that they could get an opportunity to strike Australia, and I do think that Kiki is going to strike first. Well, maybe not. I hope Kiki strikes first. I hope so. I'm just worried because Emily has a lot of power with Team USA, and so the Team USA might strike Darrell and Kiki, and that would be a bonus for Emily. So I'm worried, but I am rooting for Team Kiki for sure, and Darrell.
Oh, heck yeah.
We got some friends here, of course. Lovable Nikki is here. Yes, let's do this. Willie's here. Ryan is here. Jorge thinks I'm mad at him. So, okay, let's bring out this discussion. So, Jorge feels like it's too early for Danny to be going against Jordan and Wes. And I think, who cares? Let's just make some good TV. Let's the MVPs play a game that's not just heavily dictated by the legends. Like, so if you lose at this point, but like, let's make some splashes. Let's do something. Let's shake things up. Let's give these legends like an opponent, someone to play against, make them have to scramble, make them have to work, make them have to try something. Like, I like them making them work a bit. And so that's my position. And it's, if I'm not mistaken, Jorge, you can correct me if I'm wrong from your position, is that he feels it's a bit too early for them to be going against Jordan and Wes, especially since Jordan would never say Danny's name. And so why is he burning that bridge?
I think this is a right time to do it. I mean, there's only so few weeks that they're going to be in here. It's not like 22 episodes, like Ride or Dies. This is 12 episodes. We're on the 5th episode. I mean, we need to get the ball rolling. And as we talked about in our draft and everything else, there's a lot of stacked teams in this game. So if you feel that there is a real strong threat, put them in as early and often as possible. Because one, you never know what the elimination is going to be. And two, I mean, you could just get lucky, because yes, Jordan and Kaz won't say your name, but at this point, Danny's also making some good social ties to where Australia won't say their names or anything. So, I mean, I think on all edges, Danny and Tori are kind of safe no matter where they went to. It's just that they're not on the same page or seeing the game in the same kind of way, or even compromising at this point, which is tough. For them. So it's going to be interesting how that's all going to roll out. But I'm on the side of sending people early and as often, because you never know. I mean, CT went into a tying knot challenge against a rookie on a season, and everybody thought he had it in the bag. And he probably wouldn't have been sent in if there wasn't a Red Skull twist that season. Yet he got eliminated on a game that he thought he had in the bag. So just do it. You never know. Just do it.
like in terms of if I'm not like crazy, I think I read that Danny had tweeted that Tori had said to him like, hey, you don't want to run a final against Jordan. And so regardless of what their relationship is, and them being ex-fiancés, and them not going to be not wanting to call each other like into any elimination or anything like that, like she telegraphed the fact that Jordan is probably one of the best people to win a final. If he's in there, he's gonna win. He almost won with Anissa. Like like
Yeah.
if Anissa hadn't hurt herself, she might have taken out Nani in that balls in. And Jordan's a smart guy. Anissa does puzzles. Like maybe they would have gotten through those cinder blocks, and maybe they would have beat Tori in depth. Like it's very possible. So I can understand Danny as somebody that's coming in not wanting to play the Legends game, being like, he is one of my biggest foils to go against in a final. I need him out of here. Sorry that he's your ex-fiance, but I don't want to run against him. I know you probably want to run with him, but I don't want to run against him. So sorry, Tori. So yeah, that's my position.
I think like I think Tori could have said it in a way of being like, oh, Jordan's going to be really tough. Like, you really don't want to run a final against them, which, I mean, everybody knows is true. And she may not have said it in like we need to get Jordan out of this game, kind of just in a conversation of who do you think is really strong, and kind of going through everybody being like, Bananas has a great winning record. This person is really good at puzzles. Jordan is somebody you don't want to see in a finals, and kind of say it in like a way like that. But I mean, if these players left their Challenge USA game to go watch some of the past seasons, especially if they can hear through the grapevines who's going to be possibly on this World Championship, I mean, they probably saw a highlight reel of Jordan and being like,
watched All Stars 3.
Yeah. And we got to get
why was Wes and Johnny the first picks? It's probably because they just watched their season that they won. Right? Yeah. So Jorge, I will never be mad at anybody. Don't worry. I'm just always being passionate about my side, and like I need to make everybody agree with me. It's just my nature. I love a good debate. So no worries, but you can't convince me that it was too early. Not for this one. Hi, Juan. What is going on, everybody? Okay, so Jorge is also saying Wes is going home. I believe the reason why they said Zara has dyslexia is because it's going to affect the elimination. I do also agree with that. It's going to be something either with letters and numbers and having to put them in the correct order. And so I am worried about Wes not doing well in an elimination.
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, I feel like the editing this season feels so heavy-handed. I don't know why they feel like they need to have so many different things to kind of set up a lot of stuff. And when I saw that, but it didn't come into it affect this episode, I was like, okay, so numbers or something are going to be coming into the elimination come next week. So I don't know. I just want to see some fun instances in the house that may not do much later on in this game, just so we don't have this like constant foreshadowing that everything that we see has to be playing a role in somewhere down the line. I want some more fun edits and some more drama, but not having it to be so, I don't know, feel heavy-handed. But in saying that Zara talking about her dyslexia means that Wes and Zara are going to ultimately leave, I mean, she does say that she's been working on it, doing brain games, and she doesn't take anything like half-ass. So that could be a great comeback line of being like, yeah, I do have a hindrance in this aspect, but I worked to overcome this. And maybe this is just setting them up to coming from last to getting first in this elimination that's coming up against possibly a pretty strong duo. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to count Wes and Zara out just yet because they've been crushing it so far, except for drinking juice.
Not crushing that drink. They didn't drink the drink, says your chalkboard. Ah! Oh boy. So Willie hopes that Darrell makes a big move, because if he makes a big move now, he doesn't have to deal with the strong teams later down the line. Absolutely. And like, I think Darrell also should consider putting in teams that are more strategic and that does a lot more politicking than he does, because he doesn't do it. So like if there's people that like he doesn't want to be in alliance with, he should be throwing those people down into the sand. Because yeah, we know that Darrell doesn't like strategizing in that way. He likes loyalty, he likes numbers, like he likes, you know, your word. He doesn't like sneaky. So anybody he thinks sneaky, he should just throw them down. So D House, I don't want any of the goats to go home too soon. This soon. This brings more excitement to a season, in my opinion. Okay, up until a point, and then it gets boring. Right? I mean, the reason why I think this season so far is exciting is because there's somebody that is not just falling in line.
Yeah, and also with so many teams in the game, it's better to strike when other people can be stronger in eliminations instead of some people starting to waver off, and then only the strong teams are left. And then what happens in a fluke daily challenge like this one, and a team that maybe was in power for a good portion of the time is now finding themselves in elimination against a team that they deem really, really strong. So, I mean, it would be so like I feel like Danny would be so miserable if he was like, we need to get Jordan out. We need to get Jordan out. We go through this game, and then Danny and Tori find themselves last going into elimination. And guess who's going to be thrown in against them? Jordan and Kaz. And if that were to be the case, Danny would be like, this is why I wanted to take the shot earlier. So that way somebody else could be going up against him and maybe get the dirty work done. And I'm not the one trying to take on somebody that my partner, one, loves still, and then two is saying that I don't want to see him in elimination or a final. So that's where also the lines of thinking is like, if we can get other strong teams in against other strong teams, then we're not 5 really big champions going up against each other at the end, battling for one last spot in the final.
So Jorge says, yes, I don't want Wes or Jordan to leave that early for entertainment reasons. So do you think that if either Wes or Jordan leaves right now, that the season will fall flat and all of a sudden it will not be entertaining?
Maybe a little bit, because we are seeing this back and forth tug of war, not only because of Wes and Jordan's confessionals or their talk about the game, but also how it's affecting other partnerships like Danny, Tori, Sarah, Emily. And maybe if, say, Wes or Jordan leave too soon, that maybe the drama in the house will subside a little bit too much, to the point where Danny, Sarah, and everybody won't have anybody to fight against on who to take out next because all the bigger targets are out. So, but can I just say, both Wes and Jordan have a great elimination record. So even if you throw them in once, it's not like that's their doom and gloom and they're out right away. I mean, it took Jordan 4 tries or 3 or 4 tries in War of the Worlds 2, having a sledgehammer elimination, a tug of war elimination, and they still couldn't get him out. I mean, it's not like you're going to instantly hit a home run on your first swing by throwing in, say, Jordan into elimination. That's why you got to throw him in as much as possible to hopefully get him out at some point before the final.
I want them to come back fired up, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're going to come back like, you're going to do this to me? Like, let the games begin. Let's see this. Like, I want to see them mad. I don't want to see them coasting anymore. And it's not because I don't love them. I don't want either of them to leave the game. Absolutely not. But I don't want an easy ride to the final. That's it. I want them to work for it. I don't want that. I love CT, but I don't want him to just walk to the final and never have to see an elimination when he's like really good. Like, he's really, really good. Level agrees with me. Yay! Play the game. John and Jordan play boring games nowadays. Exactly. I just want them to be fired up and come back with some vengeance. Please. Hello, Sarah. And to all the other bakery members here. Yes, hello, all the bakery members. And I've been trying to think of a name for reality and realness people. Should we post it to your bakery? What should they be called? Nessers? The S's?
Yeah, I don't know.
I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I have not.
We can workshop it.
An epiphany yet. I don't know. I don't know.
What does Chris have a name for his? We can ask him tonight.
Yeah, okay, we'll ask. I'll have to put together the game for tonight.
The Takers. The nullified takers.
Yeah, the takers are good. I mean,
Yeah,
that works.
I don't know.
If Wes and Jordan are gone soon, that leaves it open for Bananas to win easily. Not necessarily. He's not as protected, I don't think. Like, I don't know. Him and Jordan, okay, him and Justine did really well in this daily. So we can see that they can work well together and they can have some strengths because they haven't been that visible physically for a bit of the season. But do you think that they could win right now against all these other teams? I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure if they're the winning combo.
I'll be honest. I think Bananas is benefiting from being on Team US as of right now, for now, but also having Jordan and Wes in the game and being on the same team. I think it is easy to paint a target on both of them. And I think Bananas is somebody that doesn't want to see Wes and Jordan gone too soon, because once Wes goes, it's
He's
like, okay, finally he's gone. Jordan, if he gets in the hot seat or if he wins at that point, then it's like, oh, well, let's take out the 7-time champ now. He's been running his mouth a lot. He thinks he's doing this game. So I think Bananas also benefits not having Wes and Jordan out too soon. Or that's why he doesn't want to send in Jordan and Kaz against Wes and Zara. And even looking as if that he wants Wes to win this upcoming elimination, hence why he wants to send in 2 Australian teams to break up the Australian alliance, which, I mean, that's interesting. Very interesting.
Hi, Matthew. So I agree with you, Matthew. It's not too early. There's only 11 or 12 teams. This isn't a 25 episode season like MTV. Absolutely. You got to do it a lot earlier. Like, this is pretty much halfway through the season. Maybe 2 episodes could be the final. Like, that means there's 3 episodes, three eliminations left that you have an opportunity to. It's not like necessarily going to be in your strong suit to have another opportunity to throw them down. So you got the shot. You got to take it, I think, in these short seasons. Don't have a lot of time. But Jorge says not want to burn a connection from your partner. Jordan is the only person that won't say your name. He's still not going to say their name.
Yeah.
It's because, like, just because Danny wants Jordan out doesn't mean that Jordan is still going to come and attack Danny. Like, I don't think so.
No.
I think that Tori still protects Danny from, even though he wants to go against Jordan.
Yeah, exactly. And even talking about the previous comment of only 11 or 12 teams left in the game, I mean, who else is Jordan going to turn to? You know, I mean, you only have a certain amount of players that you can fully trust. And so even if Danny wants him out, he can still trust Tori. So I agree with that.
So Lovable Nikki says Jordan's not the only person who will not say Danny and Tori. In addition, Danny is not playing a scared game. If his name is said, he is ready. Yes, he is ready. He is ready. I'm really enjoying what Danny's doing this season. And this is what we usually want from rookies, right? We want them to go against the legends. You know, we see on season 38, we're like, oh, are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? No, the entire final was filled with the same people that are in this game right now. And so I'm happy that someone wants to get them out, because that means it's just going to shake things up. It's kind of like we want our cake and eat it too. We're like, oh, we want the legends to be in the game the whole season because they're so entertaining, but then they're not entertaining because, like, all the entertaining people leave the game, and then they just get to walk to the end. So I'm here for good TV. I've seen these legends do so many seasons, hundreds of episodes. I love them, but I want them to work hard. And I want to see new stars rise. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
I think
Danny's kind of doing what Jordan did when he's flipping the skulls. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not afraid of going out against Bananas, you know? And he lost.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I mean, for the last couple of years, I mean, the vets have had little pushback. I mean, you have these 23, 24-year-olds coming in, don't even know what show they signed up for, had never even heard of the challenge, and just go with the flow. And it's like, now we have players that have been on other reality TV shows that have had to implement strategy. And also all these players have played a version of the challenge, whether it was up to some people's standards or not, depending on the cast, depending on the size, whatever. They've all at least played a challenge-like game, and they all have an idea of how they want to play this game. And they're finally sticking in their heels and saying, no, this is what I want. And I'm loving it. Can I just say the highlight of this past week's episode was at the voting ceremony, Bananas having to try to teach everybody what a burn vote was to try to get his way. Him kind of yelling at everybody that this isn't about life or death. This is just a game. Jordan talking about everybody, if you want to play Monopoly, you got to roll the dice and do it. And then Tori putting her head down on the table because they're not getting their way. They're not just these people aren't easily folding to whatever the vets want them to do. And I love it. I love it. Does it make a whole lot of sense sometimes? Maybe not, but it's still fun. It's still fun to watch. And this is why
show.
A lot of the challengers that we so love, like you were talking about with Jordan, have gotten into prominence because they pushed back, because they wanted to make big moves and iconic moves. And they did.
They did, and now they get to coast, but like we want to see them work because they are their best versions of themselves in these games when they are fighting, when they have something to do. I want to see them scramble. I want to see them figure out how to strategize. Yeah. Like I want to see them work hard instead of just like being like, oh, we got the numbers and we want to just like walk to the final. Like, okay, I don't need to see that. I don't need to see that. But know what I need to see? I need to see these power rankings. I need to see where we're placing these fine people. Now, again, we have another episode where we don't have an elimination. So it is hard to determine positioning because we don't know what people are going to do and who's going to go in and who's going to go home. So we're going to do our best here. These obviously aren't edged in stone. They're going to change next week. But this is kind of where we're feeling people sit right now. So, Drew, who do you have in your, I guess it's 12th place, 12th position because nothing changed?
This is really difficult. I did a rough draft. I was thinking about who could go where from this past week's episode, looking back at last week's episode to see where we kind of put everybody, thinking about the daily challenge and who came in bottom two, who came into the top two. This was difficult, you know. I hate to be predictable, but I still have Kellyanne and Tristan at the bottom.
So do I, baby. So do I. No movement there from me.
Yeah, they had a little bit more power. Their names weren't initially as the targets this week, which people could think about wanting to put them higher, but they still have this difficulty of working with each other in the house and in the daily challenges to maybe get power at certain points. But I thought it was interesting that Kellyanne wanted to work with Bananas' side when I think that ultimately puts you at the bottom of whatever and makes you expendable. And he is easily able to just turn on you. If he would have gotten his way this time around, next week, if something doesn't go his way, he'll easily say Kellyanne and Tristan's name again. And I think that was the wrong move to go that way. And now with Darrell and Kiki making the sole decision, I feel like maybe they could be on the line of possibly being sent in more so than anybody else as the scapegoat. But yeah.
I do think it's a possibility, obviously, that Darrell and Kiki could throw them in. I actually, for Kellyanne, I didn't think it was that bad of a move to want to go with Bananas because she just have a moment to hide for a moment. And if that was the case, then and Jody and Benha came in with them, we wouldn't have had that stalemate. And, you know, it would have protected them for a little bit. And I think that they might have been able to hide because they're not going to be such a big threat anymore. The two warring factions are going to be going against each other. And I think that they might be able to like just skate by a little bit. So I didn't think for Kellyanne and Tristan it was that bad of a move. I understand giving Bananas power and then being on the bottom of that might not be favorable in the end, but I just thought taking that gamble of like having some numbers and then having some big names in front of them was actually a decent strategy if what Bananas wanted to have happen this episode went through. So I thought for her it wasn't too bad. It was better than her kind of being this lone wolf that everybody just wants to target. But it didn't happen. He didn't get his way, so she's not really protected. And they didn't do very well in the daily. So yeah, I have her in 12th place.
You know what's also very frustrating about this doing power rankings on this
Hmm.
week is that we don't even know what happened in the final
The
round.
third
They
round, I
never
know.
showed anything of the final round. We know that
Why? Why didn't they?
Troy and Amber overcame
Got
a
more
very big
than
deficit not to get
10, I
bottom
guess.
2, and then Darrell and Kiki won, but I would love to have known by how much. Why not
Absolutely,
just show it real
because
quick?
yeah. So why did Detroit and Amber get 10? Like I want to see them get 10 rings.
Yeah.
I want to know how many they got. It's annoying, but
Yeah, I
anyways,
agree. Also, we
unless
didn't get an elimination, so why not just show it? Just take an extra second to show it. Like, we're
like they
not
took
getting
a
another
second to
ring.
show the other ones. I don't know. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
we don't have the time here. Like you
Yeah.
have as much time as you want. Okay, for me, we just slightly talked about them a little bit, and that is Benha and Jody is who I have in my 11th position. As much as like I like that Jody's going against the grain, doesn't trust bananas. I think that it would have been beneficial for her and Benha to go with Kellyanne and Tristan in this moment and just be able to hide in front of all these big guys that are like going to be going back and forth against each other by allowing bananas to throw in two Australian teams and just have Team Australia now be the next targeted team. So I thought that she should have taken that stance. The fact that we got a stalemate this episode, I think is really, really bad for this team as well. And so, yeah, I just didn't think they did better than Tristan and Kellyanne in the daily. So that's why I had them a little bit ahead. But I didn't see them move that far out of the rankings this week.
Agreed. I agree.
You got them there too?
It's tough. It's tough to like unless they went into power and lock in some really strong connections, or at least we see it. It's just really difficult to break them out of the bottom 2, just because they are the lone Argentina group. They're the easy scapegoats. They're the easy people to just throw in over and over again.
Yeah,
The
not
one solace
connected.
I will say is that Darrell and Jody have been seen talking quite a bit,
That's
so
true.
they have that connection. And then Kiki even said that she doesn't like when teams are being picked on. So maybe she was referring to not wanting to send in Jody and Benha because they didn't want to decimate the last team standing of Argentina and be like have that on their conscience and on their hands. So I don't know. We'll just see, but it's difficult not to put them either in 11th or 12th place at this point.
Yeah, like I mean, unless they win some power and do something wild, like I can't see them moving up in the ranks.
Yeah.
Just because they're just such an easy target. And I mean, I'm happy that they're still here. I'm just hoping that they can do something. And like, if they go to the final, they could be okay. They could be decent.
Oh
So
yeah. When it comes to the competitions, they're actually pretty solid. They're a
yeah.
really solid team. They just don't strategize with each other, don't talk with each other in the house.
And I feel like whenever he's talking, she's just like, okay, this is what I gotta deal with. Not in a bad way, but it's just like it's just too much for her, I think. She just wish she had an easier ride, I think. Who do you got next?
I'll be for real. I have a team that has plummeted from the top 5 all the way down to number 10. And I'm going to say that it is Ben and Casey plummeting down all the way down this line. I think Ben made a rather terrible, well, I won't say he made a terrible move because he made a move that he thought he needed to make and he can do whatever he wants. I think the way he went about making this move was absolutely dreadful. Just be straight up and honest with your Team US players. Like they're the people that played with you and that some semi can trust you the most, that you're just not like meeting for the first time. And the way he kind of gave his word to Danny and then completely switched up at the voting ceremony, blindsiding everybody. And then starting a Hail Mary, like trying to persuade Troy and Amber to vote a different way at the table when it's like, dude, you need to have conversations earlier if you're really trying to make Troy and Amber change their vote, not just at the last second right before they're going to say names. And so I think he burned the bridges of the US players that were around him. I think he burned the bridges of Australia players. And Team UK couldn't give a crap about Ben at this point. I think it's Ben and Bananas and Casey that like Ben the most. So I just think that Ben and Casey just are not looking good. At least Ben isn't looking good.
Right. I had them in, I think, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The reason why I had them a little bit higher is that what his decision kind of forced people to like have that big fight, and like, you know, it just caused a little bit of dissension. Like, I like the fact that he was like, whatever, I'm chaotic. Obviously it's not the scenario the best for his game, but I was entertained by the fact that he's just making such a mess out of his game and like his allies game. He's not making any friends here for sure. And I think he still might be decently protected by USA. But yeah, no, you're right though, with like having Team USA mad at him, like him, Sarah and Danny and Bananas could be, well, Bananas is not mad at him, sorry, Danny and Sarah. Should we just split the difference? Put him at like 9?
Well, what do you have? Who do you have at number 10?
I think that it's even scarier. I feel bad. I don't even know if I want to say.
Who is it?
It's Wes and Zara.
Okay, I had Wes and Zara at 9. So we can split the difference, since Ben and Casey would get to an 8.5 and Wes and Zara would come out to what, 9.5. So Wes and Zara could be next at number 10.
Oh God, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is so sad. Okay, so yeah, Wes and Zara. Okay, it's gonna be 10. Oh boy. And then Ben and Casey is gonna be 9. Okay. Yeah, so with Ben and Casey, with Wes and Zara, they made a colossal error this episode. He thought he was outsmarting outsmarting the system by being like, oh, we'll be able to get a gazillion of these rings. Let's not bother drinking it. We'll just eat the penalty and we'll drink the penalty and we will still come out victorious. And then unfortunately, Zara, being quite thin and having kind of small arms, was not able to throw these rings up to Wes to be able to catch them. And they got 3, 5? They got 5 rings, which is actually pretty good compared to most people. But because they lost points, sorry, they got 2 rings. They got -5 points. Sorry, I lied. They end up with -3. Like, they're the only people. Well, not the only people, but at the beginning, they were the first people that were at minus points after their round. And it's like everyone's just like, all we need to do is finish the drink and we're good. They're going in no matter what. And like, they gave everybody that motivation and incentive to be like, let's just finish this and we can't do worse than them. And so I just thought it was such a bad move, Wes. And I'm just worried that this bad move might take him out of the game. So for that, he has to fall for how scared he looked when he was standing there watching other people go and realizing how big of a mistake he made. He blew it. He blew
such a poor calculation on his point, a risk that he decided to take, and it ultimately bites them in the tail end. But I don't understand this. You know, maybe he was thinking, I don't want to get -7 points if we puke and don't finish it like Amber did, to get ultimately even worse. But there was no point in not even trying, to the fact that it's not like you can get done with this competition quicker if you didn't drink it, and then he would be hoisted up and started spinning around while everybody else is drinking. You're still just sitting there waiting for everybody else to finish for the 2 minutes to pass. So I didn't necessarily understand the idea of, I'm not going to drink it. Maybe if anybody is linked into Wes's Patreon, because I don't have that type of money on me. I just pay taxes. I'm kind of thin.
How much is his Patreon? Like 25 US? or
Probably.
more?
I think so.
Okay.
So if anybody has his explanation on why he decided that him and Zara should have sat out on the drinking portion, let me know, but
So
I don't get it.
BBG95 says on the official podcast, Zara said that she got 25 rings to Wes. That doesn't sound too bad on her part. I think most of this loss is on Wes, especially taking the penalty was his idea. Okay, so Wes, out of 25 rings, only got 2 rings inside that box. Wes. Yeesh.
I mean, that's rough. That's only half the rings that she could have gotten to him, and then out of those half a rings, only 2 sunk. That's really poor. That's poor. That's piss poor.
Piss poor. Oh my gosh. So bad. So yeah, our hero, our number 1 draft pick, like for the season, and I probably on our drafts as well. Wes has fallen from grace. Like this is a plummet. Oh my god. Do I have Wes in this one?
Not ours.
Okay, Chris does. Okay. Whew.
Yeah, Chris took him first overall for the men.
Yeah. I mean, I would have loved to have him, but I'm happy to have you, Danny. Thank you. You're still here. I'm worried for Wes. Okay, so that means that number 9 is
I think is really is sweating it out is me and Chris in this, because Danny is like getting you drama points and arguing with Tori, and he's trying to pit my number 1 man pick and Chris's number 1 man pick, and that's not great for either one of us. And I think we're both kind of sweating it out here, trying to see what Darrell's gonna do.
And like I'm right in the middle. Didn't I pick second? I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes,
right in the middle between you two warring factions. Perfect.
Ugh.
So we already talked a bit about Ben and Casey. I mean, Casey is a little bit more visible this season, at least. We hear her talking, we hear her strategizing a bit. I don't think we hear her having confessionals really, but at least she's in the episode. So there's that. Do we have anything else to say about them?
Did so bad in the daily. Got in the bottom 2. Only getting 2 points. They only sunk in 2, but they were able to drink their green juice.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, even the idea when they were talking about how they're in the bottom of the US alliance, so they're going to move accordingly, but who's the backup plan? Who's your other alliance? I don't understand. Are they siding with Wes and Zara? And I don't know. I guess they're siding with the legends, because that's what Bananas wanted them to do, and they did what they thought they wanted to do. But I don't know.
We do also see like Ben talking with Kellyanne a bit, not in this episode, I don't think, but in last episode or the one before, whatever. And so maybe it is like to side with Bananas, get out the Australians, and work with maybe Team UK, right? Maybe that's what the plan is. Go ahead.
You know what they could have done? And if they had a little bit more showmanship, maybe a little bit more of the production mind, why didn't they just stage like a little quarrel to happen at the table? So instead of being like, well, I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm just kicking over a 2x4 in my cowboy hat and putting it in my Ford truck, he could have been like talking to Casey and them going back and forth being like, well, I think we should go with Jordan and Kaz. And then Casey's like, no, we can't do that. And they could have had this like little back and forth to where then Ben is like, and then they do their burn vote and then vote in whatever. Like they could have done that to the point where they could save face a little bit and still be in the alliance, but they burned so many bridges at this point that it's just so bad. It was such bad gameplay.
Well, Ben and Casey are not necessarily the best game players. Like Casey's usually in a great position because of her social game or her social circle. And Ben is always kind of, from what I know of him as a game player, he's always kind of riding solo and like having people like be mad at him and want him out of the game. So maybe he just doesn't know how to play with people, or like they definitely don't know how to come up with something that would be. I don't see them putting on an act there at a convincing act at a deliberation table.
Yeah, true.
I don't know if I see that from them.
Did you Did you roll your eyes at the conversation between Ben and Bananas like I did when they were like, people see me as wishy-washy, but I'm a loyal guy. I'm so loyal. I'm loyal to a fault. And Bananas like, yeah, I have a bad rep too, but everything I've done has always been justifiable. And it's like these two people are just
Shut
trying to
up.
like pat each other on the back, being like, we're good people, right? Yeah,
We're
we're
loyal
good. We're great.
snakes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like y'all are cut from the same cloth, my guys. Come
Yeah,
on.
I said Ben talking to Banana says he's extremely loyal. Sure, Jan.
I was like, all right.
You're loyal until you stab them in the back. Like, it's just whatever.
Their bromance name is Bananas. It's very easy, but Bananas.
Oh, Bananas. There they are. Okay, someone wants to know why was Casey being spun around and not Ben? I think they could choose who was throwing and who was throwing in which position. But it's because on Big Brother, Casey was super great at those like throwing and catching type things. So maybe she thought she'd have better aim. Or when maybe Ben's shoulder wasn't up to par. So maybe they're thinking that it would be easier for him to throw up to her and she'd throw it into the crate. Like, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think maybe it was the idea that Ben could get the rings to Casey while spinning around easier than maybe Casey getting the rings to Ben. And yeah, maybe the idea of trying to really fling this across your body. Because I'll be honest, the one person that really impressed me, at least from what I could see, was Theo, who actually got on the left-handed, because they said they had two right-handed tractors that would spin you around so that you could throw right-handed, and the other one was more left-handed specific. And Theo was on the left-handed one, and he had to fling it across his body all the way to get it in. And every time he hit it, I was just really, really impressed. So maybe that was a factor of like, I don't want to throw out my shoulder by trying to wing these things across my body to try to get into the bin. Also, maybe the force of being spun around could have maybe did something to his knee as well with the centrifugal force, if that's a word. So yeah, maybe that's it.
The people love your impressions. Do you want to just do the rest of this pod with a Ben impersonation?
I'll grab a next time that Ben is prominent in an episode, I'll roll up my sleeves and grab a cowboy hat and go at it.
Yeah. Oh, I was just gonna comment on what you were gonna say, but I forgot. Oh, that's okay. So that's another thing as well. So it seems like some of the swinging was going in one direction and some were going in the other direction, correct? That I think is a little bit unfair. Because we do learn that Kiki is quite ambidextrous because she's left-handed, but she's able to throw quite well with her right hand.
Mhm.
But like that could be a problem for some of these people on the angle that they're going to be coming at the bin. And so I'm not sure why MTV did that or whatever, Paramount Plus or the challenge. Like, I wish it was fair, more fair all around, like either all one direction, or if you're left-handed, it goes the other direction. Like, I wish that it would play to people's throwing hand.
Yeah.
Or against it, but be fair that way.
But that's what stuck out to me when listening to the Challenge Official podcast with Zara, is that she said that two machines were for left-handed and then the two were for right. So I guess when they did their draw, you could pick which one, or they would have a conversation of what teams would rather be in. And Theo, I guess, had to get a left-handed one. I know Jordan and Kaz did too, because Jordan also was flinging it across his body from his right hand to the bin. So yeah, I guess there was talks and people had to just take the left-handed one if they really wanted the extra challenge or something. So yeah, maybe that did play a really big factor though, to where I don't know what Bananas and Justine had. Maybe they had a right-handed one, and maybe that was a little bit easier for him than say the other teams that are right-handed but had to go lefty.
Well, because you're gonna also have the I don't know what's the velocity, the force, the torque, and the I don't know what word I want, but you're gonna have assistance. To have assistance with like the movement of the machine. If you're coming in on the right and it's spinning to the right, you're gonna have a little bit of more force behind you to get it in. It's going to be easier. You're going to have more. I think it's velocity. Velocity is the word I want. And so if you're going to be going the opposite direction and flinging it across, it's actually going to be more challenging because you're not going to have the power of the machine kind of giving you assistance. So I don't know. It's a little sketch, but it's fine. It's fine. Who do you got number 8?
I'm gonna go with Jordan and Kaz.
Let's see, who do I got here?
Because their names are being popped up. They're in a pretty precarious situation. They do have a possibility of being said by Darrell and Kiki, especially if all of Challenge Australia wanted Jordan and Kaz to go in. Darrell knows firsthand how dangerous Jordan can be in this game on a season, as he lost to him in All-Stars 3 and in Elimination. I think Jordan and Kaz are a solid team, but they just do not have any positive power in this game at this moment.
Yep. I mean, their name was on the button. Like, they could have gone in easily. People want Wes versus Jordan, and it nearly happened. And I do think that it's a possibility. I mean, I don't think it's a possibility, but, you know, the fact that it's a cliffhanger means that everything's a possibility. That Jordan and Kaz might be the name that Darrell says. Danny wants him gone, and like, who knows if that's going to come through, but he has somebody that's chasing him, and sometimes if you're being chased, eventually you're going to get caught. So I am worried for Jordan and Kaz for the fact that, you know, people want them out of this game, or they don't want to run the final with them. Sorry, I'll rephrase that. And yeah, I just think that they're in a dire situation here.
Can we take a minute to just realize where we're at in people's challenges career and how the challenge has come, like, I don't know, flipped a 180? Because at one point, Bananas would be drooling at the idea of pitting Jordan against Wes in an elimination. And this would have been his Christmas on a silver platter, with Wes getting not only last place, but embarrassing himself by having a really bad strategy. And then Jordan is in the game and he could easily send him in against him, and it would further hinder either one of them making it far. Yet that's not even on Bananas' mind.
Nope.
He wants to send in Yes and Emily, or Johnny and Grant against
I love it though.
Wes and Zara, just because he wants to break up an Australian alliance that is kind of already fractured. It's like such a weird tiptoe stage of a game that, like, if you would just think about what these two players are, and you're just going to leave them in the game because they're a somewhat number of for you at this point, it's just wild. So yeah.
So BBG95 says Jordan Kaz would have been in the elimination if Ben voted for literally anyone other than Emily and Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. That would have been that. Oh my god, that would have been so wild. Oh my gosh. But I mean, I was interested because, like, I'm so mad at John A, even though she's on my team. Like, I did want to see them go in because she was just so nervous this episode that I was just like, I just need to see her, like, realize that what she didn't really benefit her game that much, you know. But it didn't. That's kind of why I was like cheering for Bananas trying to like put in these two Australian teams, because John A wasn't going to be protected at that time, which I thought was kind of fun. But yeah, that would have been wild if Jordan was going to be an option here. Woo! Make Darrell and Kiki really, really sweat here. All right. Who do you got? No, I can tell who I got next. Who do I got next? Who do I have next? Oh, speak of the devil, I have Johnny and Grant next. The fact that she was so nervous about like being someone that's going to go in, she's already backpedaling on like her decision the first episode. Like, it just cracks in her game all around. Yeah, she was just so nervous, and they didn't do that well. But how many rings did they get? They got
3
rings. Yeah, so they did like low average. But yeah, I think the fact that like Bananas wants to split up Team Australia, even though I mean, I guess because Team Australia is working with Sarah and Danny, that's why Bananas wants them out of there. But I think it's hilarious. So I have them here. What do you think?
Okay. I have them close to here. I
Okay.
had them at 6. I only had them higher than Bananas and Justine.
Oh, I had Justine and Bananas higher.
Okay. That's
The
fine.
reason,
I'm cool with putting Johnny and Grant here
okay,
at this point.
so there's 7. I mean, they're still just sticking in the middle of the pack here,
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they haven't really done a whole lot at this point.
except for like her quiver. And like you got to penalize him for like allowing them to be like the decoy house vote. Like, come on. Why you really want to be the decoy house vote? So then people know, like, you don't want people to know where your numbers are going to be, because then they can plan accordingly and screw you over. And that's what
True.
Bananas basically was trying to do. So Grant and Jonay, yeah, they knew that they were going to be one of the names being said because they wanted to have them up against not another UK team, like any other team, knowing that Kiki is going to their team Australia. And so I don't think it was a great plan for them necessarily.
It could have backfired. It was so close to backfiring on them. Volunteering, believing that they had the numbers, and then almost being sent in alongside Yes and Emily, when I think if you put them two up against each other for a decision between Kiki and Darrell, I think they go with sending in Johnny and Grant, which is not great. So yeah, I agree. That's why I'm cool with putting them here at number 7. They're kind of riding wherever. They are in the line of fire. They had the target painted on them, and it almost seriously backfired. So I'm definitely going with this. This was a kind of a rookie move on
that
them.
Their name has been said. Like, it's going to be easy for their names to be said again. They're going to realize what was like living as Kellyanne and Tristan with like their names being said early. I wouldn't be surprised if their names are going to be repeated often as you enjoy.
Well, especially with Australia now having a target on themselves painted on them by the US, and then Kellyanne is going to jump on that train at any point, any and every point, to send in Johnny and Grant because she is hyper focused on them. And then the whole edit of foreshadowing the fracture between Grant and Emily versus Kiki, and you never know what that will what that will manifest later on in this game or even next episode. You never know. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be very interesting. So yeah, I think that was a pretty bad strategy move there to say
for them. I mean, for everybody else, like, yeah, have somebody else be the name.
Yeah. And also showing a willingness to be the pawn. You're just setting yourself up for future failure at that point, I think.
100%. You're like, oh, you're the pawn before. Why don't you be the pawn now? Like,
yeah, the only good thing is that they can win. So maybe they can win themselves out of danger here and there, but you don't want to take those risks.
Do not. Okay, so then that means you had who next? Bananas and Justine, I guess.
I had Bananas and Justine around this area. There's 3 teams that I kind of had just kind of jumbled up together that I could see kind of mixing in and out. But
I had Amber and Troy next. Now, I know that they did decently well. We don't know 100% how well they did in the daily, but we can assume that they did. They got probably about 10 rings, so I thought that was pretty good. But they did get those penalties. Like, she didn't finish and she puked. Then we hear the soundbite of her like, I've been feeling sick for weeks now. So pregnancy scare is coming up soon. And I didn't see that. I mean, Troy did talk to Kiki a little bit about the fact that, you know, she's been ill-spoken about with Emily in the first episode. And so I guess that is good on Troy's part to like kind of clue Kiki in, but I didn't really see that much else from them.
Yeah, I had them up around 5th place, but I'm cool with putting them at 6 because I do think that they're kind of like in the middle at this moment. I think they are a very strong team. We just haven't been able to see a ton from them. And I just love that Troy is
so
I don't know, plays plays unaware, even though he knows the challenge probably more than everybody in the game that is part of the global MVPs. And then he slips it up that, oh, well, Emily was part of the whole thing that wanted to get you in the first. Like, he just kind of casually put that out there. It's like, what are you doing, man? Like, do you want her to say Emily? And do you want her to break up your Australian alliance? But it's funny. But I agree they should be in the mid. I wish we got to see more of them, especially if Amber is going to be medically DQ'd at some point
Oh,
in this
fun.
game for finding out that she's pregnant. Another great freaking sabotage by Chris to hinder me. But if that is the case, I wish we would have gotten to see more of them throughout
Mhm.
their journeys instead of just like a flash of just seeing them walk around the house and not really get to see their teamwork in action or just their chemistry at all.
So I have next then. I have Amber and Troy next, like 6. And then I have Emily and Yes as 5. Um who do you have what are your 3 people in this area again?
Well, it was Johnny and Grant, Amber and Troy, and Bananas and Justine in that 3. So if
See, I
we're
had Amber and Bananas and Justine at 3 because of the fact that they did so well in the daily. They almost won that daily, and their strategy got Danny and Tori to like completely implode. And so I think that's pretty impressive. They had people coming on side. They had Ben like ruining his game for him. I just felt that they actually did a lot of pot stirring here, and so that's why I had them higher, because they more so got what they wanted than most people.
so I didn't take into account the daily challenge, but at the end of this voting ceremony, I just really remembered
I
Bananas
was so
getting
angry.
really angry about not getting the
His
2
way.
Australians nominated, as well as Justine when talking to Emily, Sarah, and I think Danny in the room, where she was kind of upset that they didn't get their way with getting Jordan and Kaz at least nominated to possibly going in. So it just felt like both of them didn't get their way and wasn't very happy about it. I will agree, though, that Yes and Emily were more in danger and didn't really have a leg to stand on as I don't think Justine and Bananas are in any danger whatsoever. So
Mm-mm.
I agree with you on that point, as well as their performance in the daily challenge and Bananas' way to get Ben on his side, but his side is also the US side. I'm very confused at how this is all playing out with everybody tied together, but also having different plans. So I agree that Bananas and Justine should be ahead of Yes and Emily. You had them at 3.
I had them at 3. And then 4, I had Sarah and Theo.
Okay, I had Sarah and Theo at 3.
Okay, so I can swap Bananas and Justine, and then would have Troy and Amber would be 6,
Yes.
and then Emily and Yes would be 5.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Bananas, Justine 4. I'm in.
Okay, cool.
I'm in. Let's get these people up on our screen here. All right, so Troy and Amber, yeah, I want to see more from them as well. I like their partnership. I like that it doesn't seem like Amber's being bullied or targeted. Like, she's just seeming being allowed to be and play this game with a partner that respects and likes her, and like I like that for her. So I would like to see more of that partnership. I really hope that she doesn't get taken out of the game before we can see more of them working together. So
Yeah.
now, what do you think if she does get medically DQ'd? Do you think that Troy will be also removed from the game, or do you think that he will get a Jenny West or someone stepping in to be his partner?
Can I plead the 5th on this one? Because I've
You know?
done I feel like I have a really strong idea, and it's from doing past videos
Oh,
that something that I feel like I could I don't want to accidentally spoil anything
okay.
if people didn't watch my breakdowns or anything that knew of potential spoilers going into those videos that I don't want to say anything, but I have a very strong theory on it of what could come from it.
Should at the very end, should we just like be like, this is a spoiler zone? Because like it's still speculation from, right? It's not someone telling you facts, is it?
I don't know. I don't know.
I thought it was from your breakdown. Okay.
It's from the breakdown, so I don't know.
Well, from the breakdown would mean that it's something that was in trailers that you pieced together.
Yeah. It's easy for people to see if they were to go through the trailer and kind of like eyeball it out there. But I don't know. I don't like to. I just don't want to spoil it for anybody if they really don't want to. Like, if they didn't like come in here thinking that we're gonna hear spoilers on a Friday afternoon.
Fair. Okay. Okie dokie. Fine. Okay, and then so that means in 5th place we have Yes and Emily. So we haven't heard that much from Yes, but Emily, we do know that she has friction with Kiki, but she is working quite solidly with Danny and Sarah. Well, Sarah and her are pretty tight, and so it looks like Emily is going to be quite protected from at least half of the USA team, and so they're in a pretty good spot right now. I mean, yes, their name might be said by Darrell. I don't think it will, because he knows Yes from a long time, right? They're friends.
Yeah.
So
even Casey said at one point when Bananas initiated the we should get 2 Australian teams in, that Casey was even saying, like, if we could get Johnny and Grant and Emily and Yes up there, we know Darrell's not going to say Yes's name. Right, so that means Johnny and Grant would go in, and that's a really strong team against another really strong team. So I think it's established that Yes and Darrell are super, super close.
Great. I mean, I'm fine with that. I would like to see more from Yes. I maybe see what happens if Emily and Yes have power. What would they do?
Gosh, I have no clue. Honestly, I have no idea.
So, like, I want to see it. So let's see.
The only thing I could think about was him targeting Wes, but
wants to be spoiled.
But if something happens with Wes this upcoming episode and Yes gets into power, I have no idea what he would do. Like, the only established rivalry that I know of is Yes, and well, Emily would want to take a shot at Ben. We know that. So, I mean, that's another idea of where they would want to go towards. But right now, Yes is kind of like, I don't know, an enigma, a mystery. We haven't heard from him a lot until this past week's episode, and we still don't know too much into his strategy or gameplay. So, yeah.
I want to hear more from you. Yes, please. All right. Anything else to say about Yes and Emily?
More, please.
Yes, please. More, please. All right. So in the 4th spot, we got Bananas and Justine. For reasons that I already said, they nearly won this daily, which more likely would have, well, actually, what would have happened? Because they wouldn't have any control of the vote necessarily. So without Bananas kind of steering that opposition with trying to get those 2 Australian teams in there, what do you think would have happened with the vote?
It's interesting because the reason why they wanted to target Australia is because Darrell and Kiki won, and they would have been down a vote in the voting process. So that's when they thought it was their time to strike by sending in 2 Australian teams. So that is a good question of like what would have happened if the US went in there with only 3 votes and UK only had 2 votes, Argentina had 1, and then Australia had the most votes. Would they have gotten Jordan and Kaz?
I think they would have
in there.
Oh, no, but it wouldn't have mattered because, well, not mattered, but like Bananas and Justine would be making the decision. So them using the team country that's in power as a reason for why they're having one team go in or not, it would have been completely different.
Hear me out. We were just ragging on Johnny and Grant, but would have either Danny tried to volunteer himself to be the vote, or Do you think they would have tried to gotten Ben to volunteer, but that would have been too like because that's the thing. If Danny really wants to get Jordan and Kaz in, the only possibility is putting Jordan and Kaz up against another US team. But that's
Yeah.
putting your numbers in jeopardy. And in the room, it seemed like Danny was really pushing or at least suggesting an Australian team just be the pawn. And Grant was like, yeah, let's do it, kind of thing. But
Right.
I
I
don't
don't
know
think
if
Danny would have done that himself. I don't think that Ben would have put himself in that position. Who's the last? Oh, I don't think Theo and Sarah would have put themselves in that position. So yeah, I don't think that any of the USA teams would have done it.
but who but then who would the plan just not have would they have not have done the plan then? Because if you put up
Unless
anybody besides a US team, I don't see Bananas going against Jordan and Kaz at this point.
right. I mean, maybe Danny would have done it
Maybe he would, yeah.
behind Tori's back or something like that.
I mean, maybe he would have gotten Australia just to vote in Ben and Casey and just been like, put in Ben and Casey and then we'll burn our votes and then we'll have Ben and
Bananas
Casey.
would have just saved Ben and Casey for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they don't trust him already, so that would have been interesting.
It would have been, yeah. Danny he wouldn't put himself in. I don't think he would have put himself in that dangerous position. But maybe unbeknownst to Ben and Casey, having them be the vote and without them knowing about it, like they may not have known the plan, you know.
Yeah.
And then I can see then Ben would have been pissed.
See Bananas being upset by that because then he's feeling like his hand is forced in a certain direction that maybe he doesn't want to necessarily do because he and Jordan like have this bromance from the Challenge 38
Right.
kind of thing. And I could see him wanting to like push back on that, but knowing that he can't swing on Ben and Casey at this point. So I think he would have been more angry if he would have seen that computer screen, put up those two options and been like, well, it's out of my control, you know, like that sucks. Like I wish I would have. Yeah.
Yep. All right.
I kind of wish that would have happened now.
I know.
Production, you didn't rig it for Bananas and Justine to win, so we could have gotten this. No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe they didn't want Bananas to be in that position.
Somebody did. I got a notification on a comment on one of my videos saying that it was really bad they didn't show the final round because say if it would have swapped and Darrell and Kiki would have done really well in their heat and then Bananas and Justine were in the third round and they were proclaimed the winners, like everybody would have been up in arms.
Sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's why you need just come on.
Transparency.
I mean, we're not asking for much. Like we're even asking for just numbers on a screen at this point. Like you're not even showing what's inside the container and us
or at least
like
or maybe them talking about it, being like, oh yeah, I got 3 rings. Like just say that.
Yeah, we're just asking for a little bit of transparency. I mean, we all know that you can like fudge the numbers if you really want to, but all we're asking is for something.
Tell us your fudge numbers. It's fine.
Yeah, put a timer on the bottom. Give us some numbers. We don't care. You declared the winners. We just want to know by how much.
Yes.
15 rings. That's all you had to put. Darrell, 15 rings. Darrell and Kiki, 15 rings. That's it.
Like, you know, we just want to know how much they win by. We want to know how much people lose by. We just want to know how to rank these players. Why are they interfering with our power rankings? Huh?
Yeah.
Jeez Louise. All right. So who do you got at number 3?
Theo and Sarah.
Me too.
Really strong team. Trying to get their way and doing certain things. It's interesting that we're not seeing a ton of Theo. So we just don't know what his gameplay is. I mean, I know he's
next episode, something's happening. There's going to be a little bit of friction with him and Danny.
What? Where would that came from? Like seriously, I wouldn't have guessed that at all going into this. Well, because
maybe it's because Danny's coming for Jordan, which means he's coming for Kaz. You know?
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think of that. But it wouldn't occur to me that like out of all the players that Danny could get into a fight with, I wasn't thinking Theo was up at the top of the list. I was thinking like Bananas, who thinks he knows better than everybody. Jordan, who has gotten into numerous fights with a lot of different housemates over the years. So it's going to be very interesting how those two go about it. But Theo and Sarah are a really strong team. Sarah had a lot of confessionals this past week, kind of throwing the MTV legends under the bus for playing it safe, for being called legends. They're very scared to play this game, that they're playing high school football or the playground football instead of being in the Super Bowl. And then
Oh
having
my
that
God, and
fake
making
proposal
fun
with
of poor
Emily.
Tori and Jordan's
Yeah.
engagement scene. I mean, they at least they played it. I really liked the scene when it happened in real life. I was happy for them for sure. But
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe this season's made me go from really disliking Sarah to like not minding her right now.
It's funny how everything is going out or showing their colors, but it's just interesting the dynamic that they have and how much influence it seems that Sarah has, and how Theo is, I think, just getting his relationships in order for not only this season but for maybe upcoming future challenge seasons with everybody here. So I think they're an interesting duo right now, but I find it interesting moving on to the next week when you brought up Danny versus Theo. Like, I thought of like, it doesn't seem Sarah likes Tori, but she's tied up with Danny, who is very close with Sarah. And now Theo won't like Danny, who is very tied with like Tori and Jordan. And it's another level of complex chaos that
Yeah.
makes me excited for at least the upcoming episodes to see how do you navigate this, you know? I don't like Danny, but he's tied up with Tori and also tied up with my partner. Like, I would like to take a shot at him, but I can't because
Yeah, and he's
there's no way
protected.
we can do it. And the same with Danny and Tori and everything. Like, it's wild. It's wild.
It's kind of fun, to be honest. And like, would you rather people not be trying to go up against each other? Like, and just everybody's just like, kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya. Like, no, let's see this chaos. I'm here for it. Let's see the hurricane. I agree with you that we haven't seen that much for Theo, but he must be bringing something great to the table. Also, Theo and Bananas are really good friends, so that could be another reason why. And they're in the same room together. That maybe the anti Danny, because Danny is pretty much against Bananas as well, and so maybe that's also part of like they're on Team USA together, but they don't have the same allies or the same targets. So that could be where some discrepancies are happening. But they're Sarah's just making moves that are interesting to me, and I want to see how they play out. So regardless of how I feel about Sarah, I think that her and Theo are in a pretty good position. I don't think anybody is calling their name anytime soon.
Oh, heck no.
I don't think. Unless that's what Theo's getting mad at, is that they say maybe they burn a vote on him. I don't know. But yeah, I think that they're pretty safe for a bit. So yeah. Number 3. Boom, boom, boom.
Agreed.
El número 2 para mí es Danny and Tori. So they were in the top spot last week, and for me, they went to number 2. Where do you have them?
I too have them at number 2.
Perfecto. ¿Por qué?
I think that they are really strong in this game. I think that their banter with each other and their separate plans and how they want to play the game is what made me drop them from 1 to 2. I think they both have a lot of influence in this game. I think that they are a very strong team in this game. There's just one hurdle that is stopping them from absolutely dominating this game, and it's their different games. They're different. They're on different books and different pages in different languages. It seems that it's awkward. I mean, honestly, also Tori needs to work on her persuasion skills. I mean, Danny is sitting there at the table, just figuring out a way on who to say what vote and how to vote. And she's like, if your ex-fiance was in the game,
Shut up.
I would help save her. It's like, what? what world, you know, what world are you, how is that your negotiating skills? Like, oh, well, now that you say that, thanks a lot, Tori.
Okay,
Okay,
fine.
yes,
I
and
get it.
Emily and Johnny and Grant. I'll burn all those bridges. I'll go back on my, it's like, what now? That was just wild. But yeah, I think that they are a very strong team. I think that they're going to be a tough team, even though that they're not seeing eye to eye at this point. They're going to be a tough team to go into elimination or for anybody to say. The only way they go into elimination is if they get last place. And I just don't see that happening
Yep.
anytime soon. So I think that they're in a strong position socially, physically. I think they're an intimidating team. I think when it comes to challenges or anything, that they're going to be able to work on the same page. But when it comes to strategy and politics in this game, it's a different factor. And I think at this point, it's barring them from my number one top spot at this point.
Totally agree with everything that you said. And one thing though, I'm excited about the scene because they're not on the same page, right? Like I'm not the biggest fan of Tori, and so I'm just happy that Danny's just not following along with what Tori wants in this game, and that's exciting to me. I'm a fan of Danny's, and I like that he is willing to put his foot down and say, like, you know what, I don't care about your ex-fiance. I care about my game and my longevity in this game. I don't care about your previous relationships. I don't care about your future relationships for future seasons. I'm playing this season now, and I'm playing it to win. I'm into that. And so I like the fact that they're fighting against each other, but like, because of who they are, they have people protecting them still. And so I think they're just in a really good position to be able to be at odds with each other. I think it's fun. And they're a strong team to be able to back it up. So yeah, I have them in number 2. Obviously, they didn't come to an agreement, and neither of them really got what they wanted to happen. So that's taken them out of the first place position. And they didn't win the daily. So yeah, they're in the number 2 spot, but I feel like they're going to be hovering around 1, 2, 3 for most of the season, most likely.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Likely.
And Natalia is saying she wants them to get into power. And what would be so entertaining is if at some point, if Danny and Tori were to get into power, that's when the house votes in Jordan and Kaz, and you just try to make it a landslide. And that's when it's like, you really put the pressure on Tori, where she's going to be like, again, at the table was like, we're going to go in. If you can't come up with a decision, like, we're going to go in. And that's when Danny really, that's when, if you're Danny, you put your foot down and you play chicken and you go, I'm saying this name. You can say this name, or I'll get my stuff on and we'll go into elimination. And then it's like, all right.
And Tori's a chicken, I think. So
it would be fun to see what exactly happens. Will it be the idea of, I'm not going to say Jordan's name whatsoever, or all right, I'll send in Jordan. And then, I mean, at that point, you really can't be mad if you're Jordan. Like, honestly, like,
of course he shouldn't be mad, but who knows?
But who knows? It's like, you can't really get in on it because it's not like her saying your name first. It's Danny kind of like sticking his heels. Yeah. So it's like, at that point, I think it would have been able to push past it. But oh my gosh, that TV moment would be so fun. It'd be fun to see it, especially if they're up there and then like he says Jordan and Kaz's name, and then Tori like looks at him and is like, are you sure you want to do this? And then he just like opens up his jacket and it has his like USA uniform. Like, I'll go.
He's ready to
go. I'll go in.
Ready to go. It's happening. It's got to happen.
I would love it.
It's got to happen. So Jorge wants to know if we think that Danny and Sarah will make it to a final, like he is predicting. I think so. I think
it's gonna be tough. I mean, they're part of 2 strong duos that I don't think is getting their names said anytime soon. I think, and then even if they are said, who are they up against to where the other team isn't like not saying their name? Because it's going to be really difficult to not say their name or say their name and not think they're coming back from how strong of a teams they are. So I don't know. It'll be interesting.
It will be. And then I guess we both mutually have in our top spot, and that is Darrell and Kiki. I mean, for me, it's pretty self-explanatory. They won this daily. They are in this power position. They we need to see what they're going to do. Maybe they're going to fall from grace once we find out what decision they end up making. Who knows? But at this point, they're in a powerful position. They get to choose from everybody who they want to throw in, and there's some good moves and some easy moves for them to make. And so, I'm excited to see what they're going to do. I love the fact that Kiki was the one that pretty much got this win for both of them, for the fact that she had a strong arm that was able to get these rings up to Darrell, and he was able to get them into the bin. So right now, I think they're in the top spot. I love them both, and I'm happy for them to be in this power position.
I think the great philosopher John A. said it best, and pardon my language, but she said Kiki is a badass bitch.
Yep.
And Kiki shows just how, like, don't underestimate her at any level. She wins. First of all, she wins the Challenge Australia. Episode 1, she wins a pole wrestle. And then she comes in here, drinks the juice faster than anybody else. Like it was nothing. Like it was a shot at the club. And then she is throwing these rings like a freaking machine. I mean, and the way, and I also want to just commend Kiki and Darrell's partnership, because even with all the information being thrown at Kiki and how many times we've seen her kind of around Bananas, it doesn't seem like she's confiding in Bananas all the drama that's happening with Team Australia to where then he could try to manipulate her into being like, well, you need to take a shot at them ASAP. She is going to Darrell and only Darrell, keeping it in-house. And they're both listening to each other. They're both supportive of each other. I just thought that their chemistry, their banter, the way they work with each other, the strategy that each person is talking about, they validate each other's feelings. They hear each other out, and then they're able to come to a point in the game or in their line of thinking that they can agree with where they want to go. And I just love it. It's the duo that I didn't expect, and they're just so wholesome and they're amazing. So I love both of them.
If they can stay like this strong, like I would love for them to win. Like if Darrell gets his win on Team Australia here, like I would be pumped. That would be a really, really good, like just good for Darrell. Like he got a good partner that's willing to fight to the end. Yes, he was with Amber and like they were doing really well in that season, but like he got taken out before the end came. And so I would love for him to run this with Kiki and get that W. So I have I have high hopes with them, especially with them doing so well in this particular challenge. And let's hope that they make a really good move so that it doesn't ruin their position in the game, but at the same time, it also takes out somebody that isn't helpful for their game. So fingers crossed there. Danny, hello. And okay, so Danny says, just watching, and Tori said it in a way that meant it was okay to get him out. Ah, okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, she's probably like, well, maybe not now, but we don't want to run against him, but like, I don't want to take him out. Ah, I see.
I think she's the type of player that will always say it's too early until like the very last one. And it's like, you can't wait for a person like Jordan to send him in once and hope that's the time he trips up. You have to take multiple shots.
Wait, and was on board with him making the move early in the season? Whoa. Oh my God, so many people are coming for you for like breaking up, for putting Tori in such a terrible position. And like she said that it was okay. That's so frustrating.
I bet you was lip service. It was to appease, to say like, I am playing, so just do what I want to do now and we'll get to it eventually. You know, I'm on board, but not right now. This isn't the right time. I can see her being that way.
Yeah, wishy-washy, annoying. Like saying something but not actually meaning what she's saying. Well, regardless, Danny, for whatever reason you wanted to go for Jordan, it's the right move for your game, and we support it here. So yeah, right? Yeah. So what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Oh, so somebody had messaged here about we'll be back at our regular time next week. We should be. But the reason why we moved it today was because we are going to be talking at 7 p.m. Eastern today with Chris. The trio is back together to talk about these first 5 episodes. Let Chris know where he is standing in our draft. And actually, Drew, you might as well tell us where we're standing right now, unless you want to save it till later.
We can save it till later because I have some words to pick with Chris, and I think to Chris, who wanted to postpone it till this week and not doing it last week, because I think now there's a clear picture on why he wanted to wait until this week.
Oh, okay. I don't even know what this means. You're being so cryptic.
It has something to do with the fantasy game.
Okay.
I think we can figure out why.
Okay. Okie dokie. Well, that's pretty much it for this recap right now. Do you have anything that you want to say about, our power rankings, what we're going to be talking about later on, a few hours from now? Anything about this episode that we may have missed? What do you want to say?
Not really anything about this episode, because I think we were able to talk about everything. And I appreciate Danny for coming in and letting us know exactly what Tori was saying. It puts a lot of things more into light about the way people are playing this game and the kind of intentions that possibly are being seen through now. But yeah, I'm excited for next episode. I wish we just had this was like a double episode this week, because I just want to get to it. There's an elimination. There's a decision that has to be made, and I want to see what's going on, because there's a lot of theories out there on who Darrell and Kiki could pick, and my mind is swimming, especially after what Zara said in the Challenge Official podcast. So I just want the next episode. Why can't we have the elimination?
Wait, what did she say again? Remind me.
She said. Devon and Anissa asked for a little bit of a cliffhanger to add to the cliffhanger. And Zara said that who you think is going to be picked for the elimination is not who is going to be picked. And that's all she said. So I don't know what that could be entailing to, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
I won't read that out loud, but it's hilarious to me. Well, honestly, I love our Power Ranking Fridays. Super fun. We should be back at our regular time next week unless something comes up in either one of our lives. But we will be, the trio, as Chris says, will be back together tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Nullified Take, so we can discuss these first 5 episodes. Can't wait to hear the Nullified Take and see how Chris feels about the power rankings, where his draft is doing, what his predictions are for the rest of the season. I am excited to hear his thoughts, so hopefully you guys will be able to pop in later on today to talk about it. I'm pretty excited. Now, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to both of our channels, Reality Realness with 3 S's, as well as the Angelcake Entertainment channel. That would be super fabulous. Like this video. Let us know what you think about our rankings. Tell us if we got it all right, got it all wrong, got it just right. Let us know what you think. We love having conversations in the comments, because I realized that I had 100 back and forth talking about this particular week. So we do respond and enjoy having these conversations offline and on these videos. So please leave a comment, and we'll see you guys probably later on today. So in a few hours. Take care, everybody. Ciao.